Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to our review of A Quiet Place.
Yep, so the first part of this, until we give our score, will be spoiler free, and then we'll go into spoilers the second half of the video.
Alright, so the reason for this review is it just came out on Blu-ray, 4K, whatever you want to call it, but it just came out, so we went ahead and picked it up, and unfortunately this was one that we didn't get a chance to see in theaters. We did miss that, but watching it at home was great as well. And I will say that it was not a disappointment. It was a great movie. I'd say for myself that I would give it an 8. What about you?
I'm probably going to go a little higher and probably go a 9 out of 10 for this one.
Okay.
I do feel kind of bad that we missed it in theaters. It seems like just with the whole notion around sound and in the movie that it would have been cool to be in a real quiet theater. Although I guess you do run the risk of if you have some annoying if you have a bad theater experience, I feel like that could really either make the movie even better or really just completely ruin it, depending on kind of the crowd you're with. But no, I really enjoyed it, and I thought all the high reviews and expectations would kind of maybe make it not as enjoyable to me because everyone seemed so positive on it. But it really met, if not exceeded, expectations for me.
Yeah, no, I thought one of my favorite parts about it was how anxious I felt the whole time watching it. Sometimes you get that with movies and sometimes you don't, and you definitely felt that with this movie to the point where our cat made a noise and I even was like, shh, like, be quiet, and just kind of forgot where I was. I wasn't in the movie, but I felt very drawn into what was happening, and sometimes with subtitles in movies, I feel like it can be a distraction, but I mean, I felt like I just was there, and I didn't.
What she's referring to is they use sign language for a lot of the movie, so that's the
right. So you will see, so you do see quite a bit of subtitles as far as that goes, but it didn't pull away or distract me by any means. I was still very much drawn into the movie.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at the limited amount of jump scares there were. I mean, it's really not necessarily that scary of a movie, but I mean, it is tense throughout. I thought they were going to kind of overuse the jump scares. They really don't. I mean, there's probably 2 or 3 instances of that, but I mean, it's really well done, really well paced. It's logical, which, I mean, well, we'll save the spoilers for later, but most of the decisions, especially made by the adults, are more logical. The things they do to prevent sound and to warn each other, some things they do with lights around their house and things like that are logical. And really the acting. I mean, even we were talking after a little earlier about, it seems like some of the child actors recently, especially in horror movies, whether it's this or... the It movies or even the Conjuring movies.
Stranger Things,
yeah, that's another one.
Child acting has gone to a whole nother level. I think, they are... I mean, it's, I think it's easy for a kid to be a kid in a movie, but in a lot of these roles we're referring to, it's like they almost have to mature in a sense and, almost portray things that who knows if they truly understand or have even experienced in life. So it's just been really awesome to see so many awesome child actors, and this movie definitely didn't disappoint in that area as well.
And especially in It, where I mean, I know it's going to be great, but you're almost disappointed that part 2 is going to have the adult versions, and you're not getting the kids back. That's when you know how great they were.
Yeah. So,
but Emily Blunt and John Krasinski did an awesome job too. His directorial debut, which is crazy. We watch The Office so much, so it's hard not to see Jim sometimes. But but no, he was awesome, and Emily Blunt is freaking incredible. I mean, she's awesome in pretty much every movie I've ever seen her in. But still the same in this movie.
All right, so we definitely highly recommend this movie. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and pick it up. It's really, really good, and I think one that I feel like I would definitely like to put in again.
Yeah. And the 4K looked great too. I mean, picture quality was great. Sound is extremely important in this. Sound quality was great, so definitely worth the 4K pickup. Yep. So now we're going to jump into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, end it now. Come back after you've watched it, and you can start us off.
Okay. Yeah. So for the spoilers for this movie, one of the things I really liked is the creatures. might have missed if they actually gave them a name. I don't think that they did because I don't think we're quite sure what they were up against. But I thought they looked really cool. They almost reminded me of the things that are in The Last of Us.
Oh, the clickers?
Yeah, they almost kind of had a clicker kind of look to me. So I think that those creatures, I mean, the clickers definitely looked really cool in the
Yeah, they can't see, they go by sound.
Yeah, so to me, it just, that's kind of the idea that I got when I finally saw them. I thought they looked really cool, and I really liked that they didn't overuse them. You didn't really see them much, and it kind of took a while for you to really kind of get an up-close really kind of look to them, because you do get a brief snippet of them within the first few minutes. But
it's like a quick shot of them running through the woods.
So you really have no idea what's even happening or what's, in front of you. So I really liked that. I loved the pacing. I loved that action started immediately. So unfortunately, yes, a child dies really quickly, but I did like that. Okay, it set the tone. This is what kind of movie this is. It's not a game. Like, this is real. Like, you're really pulled in immediately to what's going on. And sometimes movies, I think, can drag on with that, and I think they gave you just enough of the backstory. And one thing I did appreciate is I didn't feel like there were a lot of flashbacks to their life before. I mean, I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. I think we got just enough of all of a sudden there's this stuff going on. Everybody's having to be quiet. Be quiet to survive kind of thing. And so I did appreciate that too, that it wasn't just like, let's take you through our whole life before. No, it's so serious, we don't need to know that.
Yeah, and I mean, you get some hints through like newspaper clippings and his little like radio workstation or whatever, which is cool. But yeah, I think sometimes horror movies, I think Sinister 2 is like a big example of this, of overexposing your story.
Right.
And kind of like, this is a weird example, but like the Star Wars prequels, it's like, some of it is the mystery that kind of makes it interesting.
Right.
When you go back and you answer every question, and you're not left wanting more, that sometimes I think that can actually hinder you. Right. So yeah, I mean, there weren't flashbacks at all. I mean, it was all present day going on. And what you're talking about the pacing, I mean, their youngest son dies, in like the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, and it said, I think like 89 days, within 89 days it showed, I think.
Which I'm assuming is of the outbreak or when these things have, come into play. And they just, you get annoyed, but they build up that kill so well, where you see this kid wanting this toy that's loud, they take it away from him, the sister makes the mistake of giving it back to him even though she takes the batteries out. Of course, the kid being like, I mean, what is he, like 5 probably, takes the batteries, they're walking home, sets the toy off, and that's all she wrote. One of the things shoots out of the woods and snatches them up.
Right.
And that actually leads to one of our kind of gripes about the movie is, you know what situation you're in, and I mean, look, you got to do what you got to do, right? But they end up getting pregnant like a year later. It goes from like 89 days to I think 435 or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's pregnant, and it's just kind of like,
I was like, why? Like, again, you got to do what you got to do. Like, great for them to still be able to.
There's not a whole lot to do,
to be able to make that happen. But to me, I was just thinking, we see them in this convenience store or whatever in the beginning, picking stuff up, pick up some condoms. I don't know. Like, I don't understand, because then you're under this pressure of how are you going to keep a baby quiet? Like, that's crazy. And they, have a plan for it. That's too much. Like, I still wouldn't feel comfortable with that plan, because at any point you could be taking your baby out to hold it in its little box, and then it's crying, and your whole family could possibly die now.
And I can kind of buy the train of thought of, well, maybe they feel like they messed up and maybe they're trying to replace the kid in their mind. Mm-hmm. There's like the scene where Emily Blunt's in his old room, she's crying, and then early on, John Krasinski's on top of this tower thing, kind of looking at some of his old toys or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, it kind of, maybe that's the thought, but it's just like they're so smart about everything else. I mean, they have the white and the red lights to swap in case something's going on. They have the fireworks ready to distract them, which we'll get to later. But it's like you're so smart about everything else. And maybe that was intentional. Maybe it's supposed to show, hey, they're still human and their emotions got the best of them, and not that the baby's a mistake, but I mean, it really kind of puts you at risk.
Yeah.
I mean, they have that little box with the oxygen tank going through it to attempt it, but I mean, you just can't
That's just I don't know. Yeah.
And that kind of leads to my other annoyance of the movie, or not necessarily an annoyance, but it's awfully convenient that there's a couple scenes with this new baby that there's a lot going on, and this dude's just kind of chilling. You know, like
not crying.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like the room he's in is getting flooded, and of course he's a newborn. He's obviously not understanding what's going on, but this monster's making noise, and there's all sorts of stuff going on, and
right.
He just happens to be cool for this whole thing, even when she's kind of sneaking through the house. You know, he starts to cry, but then he gets, you know, John Krasinski's character gets the mattress over him.
Right.
So I mean, and it doesn't ruin the movie by any means. I mean, we actually had to kind of sit down and think like, well, why isn't this a 10? And that was just a few of the things. I mean, it's pretty convenient. This baby just wasn't freaking out.
Right. Yeah, and again, like you said, they were so smart about everything that it just is kind of like, but you did that, and to me, like, that would be one of the things that I feel like I would be really smart about, because again, that's so much harder to control than some of the other things. Yeah, I mean, that's just. I mean,
it can't stay in the box forever. You know, you gotta change diapers. You gotta do all sorts of stuff like that.
And then you now gotta get another child used to living in this world of you have to be quiet, and you know, in the movie, the youngest one is the one who's not understanding the importance of being quiet, and now you have to almost do that with a new child. Like, but I guess if they're in the idea too, if they're growing up in a house where it's all quiet and they're just communicating with sign language, maybe it all plays out well. So that was just my only thing. Is just like, you know, I wish, you know, but it also is a big part that adds to the suspense. So when she's giving birth to the baby and all of this chaos is, you know, happening, the creatures are in the house and she's got to try and fight through this pain and be quiet. She stepped on this nail. Like, there's so much going on. So I think, I mean, it definitely, out of that, created some of the more, you know, tense scenes. But I mean, to me, that was just my only thing, is they were super careful. And to me, it's just like, I feel like that would have been another area to be a little more careful in, especially considering it didn't happen too long after your other child died. So even if you were doing it, like having to try to have a child intentionally, I don't see that I would have done something like that soon, you know, to say.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess if you're in just that crazy of a situation, you know, no one else is around.
Right.
You know, who knows?
Right.
Just a rapid fire, a few other things I liked. I liked that the way that they built tension. You know, we talked about the kid playing with the toy early on in the convenience store. You knew what was going to happen, but it was still effective when it happened.
Right.
You talked about the nail earlier. You know, she's carrying the laundry up, and it sticks this nail straight up on the stairs to the basement. You know what's going to happen, but when it happens, it's still effective. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about the acting earlier. It was amazing. You know, the scene with John Krasinski and his son at the waterfall where they're finally actually able to, like, really talk to each other is awesome. Having the fireworks, you know, ready as a distraction was an awesome idea, I thought. Having the different color lights, you know, to basically signal, hey, like an emergency or some sort of warning, you know, going to red, I thought was awesome. So there's just a lot of small details in the movie that I thought were smart, you know, whether it's the sand or just the way, you know, the way they're playing Monopoly, but they have like little cloth icons, you know, just little stuff like that.
Yeah, there was a lot of really great detail in this movie that they really did pay close attention. Like you just said, the whole Monopoly thing, like that was really, instead of playing, they didn't even want to take the chance with that stuff making noise, that they had little yarn like figures, I believe it was, that they were playing with.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it. It shows a runtime of 90 minutes, which I can actually appreciate. I mean, it's, you know, I'd rather something be short and sweet than drug out an extra 15 or 20 minutes just, you know, for fluff. I mean, it's long enough to build tension, but short enough to where you don't lose, you know, kind of some of the mystery and the aura around, you know, the movie.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, my only other gripe was I just felt like the daughter, I just thought maybe she would have caught on to the fact that her hearing aid was causing those things to react. And he made a good point in the when she's in the cornfield and it happens, her back was turned. She can't hear anything, so she may not have even realized that something was behind her to react. Yeah. But I'm thinking when they're caught in the, I don't know, what do you want to call that, corn?
The silo thing?
When they're caught in that, I mean, you would just
another
think
awesome
that would have been another scene, another chance for her to catch on. But they're kids, and, you know, so I guess not. It just was unfortunate that they did finally catch on when, it was a little too late for our guy.
But then again, if I'm being chased by some crazy monster thing that I know is about to tear me in half, I'm probably
not paying attention.
Yeah,
to stuff
I'm probably
like that.
Yeah, I'm not on top of my game either.
Right.
So.
I think
so
I was
maybe
just being selfish and sad.
I mean, we really are having to nitpick because the movie's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, these are like extremely minor grievances on an excellent movie. I mean, worth a buy without a doubt.
Exactly. Yeah. Just small little things, and even then, like talking about the things that we maybe were kind of caught off guard by because they did such a good job was, again, just small things. Then you do really have to put yourself in their shoes that this just may be, stuff like you said, in the moment. Are you really going to catch on to the fact that your earpiece is doing that? Maybe you're not. Like, and yes, it ran off, but maybe it ran off because it heard another noise. You really have no idea. So, but yeah, so overall, a wonderful movie. The ending, I'm not really sure. I don't know if this will be a movie that gets.
I think they announced they're doing another one.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways,
yeah, so it'll be interesting. To see what happens in the other one. I mean, I'd almost maybe even like to see another family and how they adapt. I mean, something along those lines, because now they've kind of figured this stuff out. So, what would the second movie look like? But for me, I think I'd like to see other families and maybe how they've adapted to the situation if I were to see a second one.
Yeah, so you're going 8 out of 10, I'm going 9 out of 10, definitely worth a buy. Comment below, let us know what you thought, if you agree, disagree, if you liked it, didn't like it, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, bye.